networking habits that lead to more interviews and job offers. And I'm going to switch my screen, so I'll come back every once in a while, check the chat box, but we'll leave about 5 or 10 minutes after the talk so I can answer your questions. But I'm going to run through a few slides and give you some great information on how to create more job interviews and job offers through some really good networking habits. So without further ado, I'll just tell you who I am. My name is Mark Langford. I'm a master career coach. I've had 7 years experience coaching about 1,000 people so far. I've worked for companies like Procter & Gamble and Macy's and Technicolor. I did a stint in US courts. I've worked for investment banks on Wall Street, earned an MBA from the Harvard Business School. I've written a best-selling book on Amazon, and now I have started a company called Synergy Career Coaching, where I help people to find and land positions that they love. And my website is c-synergy.com. So normally I coach on a number of things, including how to get personal clarity on what fits you, your branding and positioning, doing some really innovative things to get noticed by recruiters and hiring managers, as well as network development, which we'll be talking about today, and interview strategy on how to land the deal and get the offer. So the key to networking is building a relationship, because everybody knows hundreds of other people, and you'd be surprised at how many people you walk past every day who might hold the key to your next position. Your neighbors, your hairdressers, your people at the grocery store, they all know people, they all have family and so forth. So you just never know who actually holds the key to your next position. So you want to get really good at networking. And LinkedIn used to say there were 6 degrees of separation from anybody. I think I could get to the Queen of England through 6 jumps. Now they only allow you 3 plus 3 connections, but it used to be that you could get to anybody. So that means that really the person you want to talk to at your ideal position is only 6 degrees of separation, and probably less than that. So networking will help you jump those degrees of separation and actually help you get more job offers and interviews. So what you want to do is feed your network on a regular basis. I find as a career coach that most people really let their networking go, and they don't actually spend time out there networking on a daily basis. And then when they're looking for the next position, they go out there and say, oh, I need to develop my network, and they don't have very many people, or they feel awkward talking to them because they haven't spoken to these people in a long time. So one of the keys is really to do this on once per week, just an hour per week, where you actually go out there, reconnect with people, ask them how they're doing, put in new LinkedIn connections, and I'll give you some more strategies later, but basically spend time doing this, because if you don't, then later on you're gonna want these people, and they're gonna be harder to reach, and if you feed the favor bank now, they're much more likely to help you. So make introductions for people, be helpful for them, and make things that connections that they want to make. Share information. You might find books, you might find applications, you might find articles and so forth, and anything. Just forward stuff to them on a regular basis. Anybody you find something, just put it in there, put it out there for them, because that just adds to the favor bank, and ultimately it's going to pay really big dividends later on when you're actually going to look for something that you need. So why networking? Well, you become a known entity at companies. Companies like to hire people that they know. So what you want to do is start networking into the companies that are important to you or you would like to work for. And referrals are critical to that, because it saves them time to have to interview a whole bunch of people if they ever know who you are. Recruiting fees it's super expensive to recruit somebody into a new position. So if you could get referred in, you're going to be a lot cheaper for them to hire. And it minimizes the business disruption, right? It takes a long time to hire people. So if you're networking into the companies that you really want to work for and they know who you are, you're much more likely to be called in for an interview, and you have about a 50-50 chance of getting that job if you get called in, maybe a little bit less if you have more people that you're interviewing against, but you still have your hat in the ring and you can actually score a job offer. So organizations always give preference to referrals. And job boards are their least favorite place to find people, which is where most people go. So if you look at this little graphic, you'll see that people look for jobs from top down. They go to advertisers, job boards, recruiters, professional organizations. But companies really look from the bottom up. They look to promote from within, make lateral moves, look for times consultants, so forth. get existing staff to cover their needs, network, you go to professional organizations, and the last place they look are job boards. So what you want to do is be lower on that pyramid and network into these positions so they know who you are. And so basically employee referrals represent about 40% of all hires in the US, which is an amazing, astounding number, given that only about 7% of people or applicants actually seek referrals into the companies they would like to work for. And statistically speaking, employers know this, but referrals, are better performers. They basically are going to stay there longer. They're going to work harder, probably because somebody they know already is in the company and so forth. But basically, the employers know that referees into the companies will perform better, and they cost less time and money to hire, like I said. So what I coach on is a laser-focused, network-based job search. It is what works in this market. Job boards are abysmal. You have a less than 1% chance of scoring an interview in a job if you go through job boards, but you have a 50-50 shot of getting an interview if you get referred in, so which is dramatically increases your odds. So you want to get referred into different companies, and you want to network people who are at different companies so that you get your name out there, and it'll exponentially increase your odds of finding and landing positions that you want. So, okay, here's the meat of the session. We want to do 4 basic steps. The steps to be a great network and to have great networking habits is 1, get really clear on what you're looking for. And we'll talk about that in a few minutes. Build a compelling value proposition so that you talk about what's in it for the employer. What are they going to get from you? And know exactly what you're going to bring to the table when they talk to you, so that you have a very clear proposition of why they should hire you. Step 3 is to target the organizations that fit you. Don't just be random spray and pray your resume out to everything you find on job boards. You want to find 10, 20, 30 organizations that you want to target. And then we're going to start to figure out who works for those companies and connect with those folks so that you could get your resume walked into hiring managers with a referral from that person. And the cool thing about that is the person referring you will usually, in a bigger company, get a referral bonus. They'll have an incentive to actually help you out. It could be a couple $1,000s actually for them. So what you want to do is make sure that you get your resume to somebody's hands who already works there, who can walk your resume down to a hiring manager. And again, I'll talk about how that can happen in a few minutes. And then basically, after you find the opportunities, you want to network into them and spend time every week, developing your relationships so that people know who you are and you become that known entity. So step 1, get clear. What do you want? Basically, your professional purpose is at the center of what you love to do, what you do well, what the world needs, and what you can get paid well for. And so you want to find all 4 of these elements. And if you do, I guarantee you'll be a lot happier in your job. And so basically, some of the questions you want to ask yourself is, what problems am I really good at solving? What value do I create? Why is this so important? How would you describe me to somebody else? What are my biggest, best strengths, and what are my specialties? And you can take personality assessment tests such as the Myers-Briggs. It's called the MBTI. You can get that free at 16personalities.com. And then those tests actually give you some ideas of what roles might fit you. Then some of the results that you find, you go out to the internet with your 4-letter profile like ENTJ, look it up and see what roles fit that, and then work backwards from there. You could also go to Clifton's Strengths Finders. They give a bunch of roles that might fit your personality strengths. There is a smaller version for 5 of your top strengths for $19.99, or you can take the $50 version and get 34 of your top strengths with a bunch of analysis of what you can do well and where you might fit. There's also the Harrison Assessment Test at harrisoncareerguide.com. And again, another good place it'll give you your top 100 roles that fit your personality type. And there are other ones such as the Colby, the Berkman, the Hogan, the DISC, the Leadership Circle, Profile XT. And all you have to do is go Google assessment tests, and there's going to be a whole bunch of them out there. I also recommend Career Fitter. It's careerfitter.com. You can also go to mynextmove.org and go to the ONET profile. And again, all these different tests will start to show different roles that you fit well for. And again, this is a data point. You also might want to work with a career coach like myself, shameless plug there. But basically, I help people to really figure out where they belong or what they really would love to do, what they get paid well for, and what they love to do. So you can always seek out a career coach. So all right, step 2 is once you get clear on your direction and the roles you want to create a compelling value proposition. One of the things I coach my clients on is to develop a bunch of innovative collateral that other people aren't doing in the market. For example, a networking brief. This is a one-pager. It has a left and right side. The left side is your value proposition in terms of who you are, what you do, how you create value, your core competencies. And the right side is what you're targeting. It is your target positions. It is your target industries, your desired contacts, and the desired companies you'd like to work for. And you can use this when you go out to network because it allows people to wrap their head around who you are and what you're looking for. As opposed to just going out there and say, hey, can you help me find a job? Here, it shows me your value proposition as well as what you're looking for. And it allows me to quickly understand you better. And also is something written so that somebody can refer back to us. Oh, I think Bob said something that who he was and what he wanted next, and go back and look at that. And as opposed to you ask them to help you find a job and it just goes out in one ear and out the other. Also helps galvanize exactly your value proposition is and what you're looking for. So here, the left side, like I said, is your value. It's the problem to solve, how you solve them, and your core competencies. It can look landscape. It can look portrait. I would suggest landscape only because it differentiates itself against a resume. A resume is always portrait, and so basically if somebody gets this, they say, oh, this is a weird looking resume. But if it's landscape and it says networking brief up top, then they'll know that they're looking at something else. And you always want to get it introduced, right? So you don't want to just hand this out to somebody, without letting them know what this is. So they don't get confused and say, what is this? But it is a great tool to get information from people. So the right side is all of what you're targeting. Again, you can have it, your target positions, industries, desired contacts, target companies. This gives me a sense of what you're looking for. And you can also add an objective statement up top. So it gets really, really clear to people on what you're going for next. So as mentioned, this tool mines referrals, leads, and information from people. It's great because it allows them to get more specific points of information from them. And if you basically tell them what you're looking for in terms of referral leads and so forth. I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous today. That what you're looking for, then they'll be able to connect the dots in their head and basically give you more valuable information. So the way you can introduce is say, hey, can I give you my networking brief? Somebody will probably say, what's a networking brief? And you say, well, it's just a one-page overview of my value proposition and what I'm targeting next in my career. It's that simple. So when you go out and network, you just want to introduce that. Okay, so step 3 is to target the organizations that fit you. And one of the things I like to work with people on is to quantify exactly what's important to them. So you can put together a small spreadsheet to evaluate different companies in terms of different things that are important to you, such as compensation, the commute, the culture, the benefits, the career path, the size, the work environment, the reputation of the company, the industry. And what I like to do is to give 100 points and then to break that up across the different aspects that are interesting. And then you can rank each company as they come along. And so let's say you have 5 companies, maybe you have 20, maybe you have 40, but you give each a ranking in terms of what you know. And if you don't know something internally, you might not know the culture. That's why you want to network into these different organizations to find that stuff out. So you can give this a median number, say it's 10% of your decision, so it's 1 to 10. Until just give it a 5, right? And then you get somebody on the phone and find out the culture is great, give it a 9, or you find that it's terrible, give it a 2. And at the end, basically what you're going to do is weight all of these different categories. Compensation could be 50% of your decision, so it's 1 to 50 instead of 1 to 20. And maybe the size of the company really doesn't matter, so that could go to 0. But at the end of the day, this should all total 100, and then you can rank each of the different organizations that you're looking at based on what you know about them. So it's a quantitative assessment that you can add to your own intuition and your other research and information that will give you another data point to figure out which organizations best fit you. So once you have that filled out, you know which companies you're looking at. Here's an example. And we want to go out and start to connect with these companies and these people who work at these companies on LinkedIn. And basically, you want to have a lot of conversations, and a great tool is LinkedIn, because there's literally 500 million people out there, and you're probably going to find people who work at that company already. So we want to get out there and talk to people. And a great tool, like I said, is LinkedIn, because magic happens when you have conversations. It's basically, if I send my resume in, it's just another piece of paper. 300, 400, 500 other people have sent their resumes in as well, so you look like everybody else. But when you have a conversation with somebody, different things happen. You create a connection. You create synergy with a person. You find common interests. They see your value proposition. You get to pitch them. You get to address their concerns. And so basically, we want to make it a habit of talking to people all the time and getting your pitch down. It's just a simple statement of what your value is to a company and what you're looking for. So first, you want to go out there and optimize your LinkedIn profile. Make sure you have a great header. It could be just a bunch of different value propositions with the up and down piping in between. Why? Because hiring managers and recruiters look heavily into the title to see if you're a match. Don't overlook the little things like your background photo and everything else, and your photo. It needs to be professional, look really good. Because again, if there are 500 million people out there on LinkedIn, you want to be there as well, because that's a great source of networking for you. So once you start to connect with people on the target companies, you want to follow up with a personal message. Once somebody's connected with you, you say, "Hey, Bob, thanks for connecting with me," and then you can have a conversation with them there. Ask for 5 or 10 minutes of their time, and request their insights and opinions. Like, let them talk about themselves rather than say, "Hey, I want a job," because they will not respond to you if you reach out, very aggressively. So you kind of have to boil the frog from cold water and turn up the heat slowly, rather than say, "Hey, can you help me get a job?" So what you can say is, "Hey, Bob, I'm a big fan of company XYZ. I would love to get your insights and opinions on the company and how you got there. Would you have 5 or 10 minutes of time to share your experience with me? I promise not to ask for a job," which you will, but just not right now. "I would just like some advice and pointers. Do you have some time this week to talk? Thank you so much." And what this does is it basically breaks the ice, tells them that you're interested in a time, that it's only going to be 5 or 10 minutes, not an hour. You're not going to ask for a job right away. So they're not going to feel awkward. You want them to talk and share their stories. It's something they know they're going to be comfortable talking to you. And then you ask for the action. The call to action is, "Do you have some time this week?" And then share your gratitude with saying, "Thank you so much." So on the call, when you have calls with people, you want to be authentically curious and ask them about themselves. You want to find common points of interest. You want to establish rapport with people. You want to focus on their stories and their information. And you want to acknowledge them, be very acknowledging on the call, make them feel good, because when somebody feels good about themselves, they're going to feel good about you. And then basically, you're going to have 3 different objectives. You want to uncover opportunities. You want to get warm introductions to other people. You want to have permission to stay in contact. So you want to work these things into the conversation. So you can ask questions like, "So what are the key challenges facing your company or department these days? What's the culture like over there? What do you like or dislike about the company? What are the common traits of successful employees? How does the company develop and support its employees?" And closing the call, basically, you want to sincerely thank them. You want to ask them, "Is there anything that I can do for you?" See if you can reciprocate. Say, "Can I help you in any other way? Is there any introductions I can make, or anything that I can help you with?" And you basically can throw your 30-second elevator pitch in at this point and tell them, "Yeah, I'm looking for my next opportunity. I would love to work for a company like XYZ. It seems like a great opportunity. Would you keep your eyes open for me?" or something like that. And then ask to send your networking brief that we talked about, the one pager with the left side of your value prop and the right side with what you're looking for, so that they remember who you are after they hang up, because most of the conversation will go out the window once you hang up the phone, and basically they can refer back to that and say, "Oh yeah, that guy said, or she said that she wanted this position," or what they're looking for. And then explain what the networking brief is, and see if you can stay in contact so you feel okay about calling them back in a month's time. And I recommend following up with companies every month, or the people you connect with. Why? Because a a job position may come open and within 2 weeks after you talk to them, but it probably won't close. So if you talk to them in a month, then you're probably going to catch any opportunities that come up. So a good cadence to reach back out to people is once a month once you have this initial contact. And yes, this is a numbers game. It is akin to network cold calling. You have to temper your expectations. A good return on investment is about 10%, meaning that if you send out 10 connection requests, you're going to get one back that says, yes, I'll talk to you. But you only need one, right? You only need one opportunity to come through to get your next position. So you want to send out copious amounts of these connection requests on LinkedIn, requesting time just on the phone and being, very acknowledging and thoughtful and mindful of the other person's time. So again, you want to get out there and talk to people. The magic is in the conversations. And an hour per week invested in network development will literally return hundreds of new connections and pay huge dividends over the course of your career. So you got to set aside time every week to do this. It's only an hour. And even if you're an introvert, make it about them. Make it about the other person. Ask them questions about themselves. Get them talking, because the person who asks the question controls the conversation. So basically, be really curious and inquisitive and allow people to talk. And then once they say something interesting, you can deep dive into that area a little bit more. So if you'd like to talk more about this or anything else with me, you can schedule a complimentary 30-minute strategy session with me. I can be found at LinkedIn at Mark Langford, or at Facebook.com on Master Career Coach, or on Twitter, I'm Career Coach Mark. Or you could just go to my website, www.c-synergy.com. And there is a little career strategy session button that you can set up right there. And basically, I will be happy to give you more information and to see if we'd be a good fit to work together and find your ideal career. So with that, I would love to answer your questions. So I'm going to go back to the chat screen and see what you have to say so far, and then happily answer anything that came up or anything you have thoughts about. So the first one is from Karen. Do you recommend redoing your personality psychometric test every few years as you move through your career or experience life changes? Absolutely. What I wanted at 20 is way different than what I wanted at 30 and 40. And now that I'm closing in on 60, it's like very much different. And it does change, not so much. Mine's changed marginally, but it has changed a little bit. So different life events affect your life differently. When you have kids, you're going to be less risk averse. So basically, or more risk averse, I should say. So basically, you're going to be looking maybe less for a start, but more for a bigger company that can give you more security. So absolutely do that, the assessment tests every couple of years at least. Other questions that you have right now, please put them in the chat box. Happy to answer. We have about 7 minutes left. Okay, would I recommend working with a recruiter, asked Rose. So my answer to that is recruiters always work for companies, right? So there are very few sites or recruiters that actually work for a potential prospect or an employee. One is Blue Step, and then there's hired.com, I believe. They will actually send your resume out and so forth, but most recruiters work for companies specifically. So my suggestion on this is recruiters are like passive sonars, right? And you want to have a lot of them in your network. So I would go out and add literally 10 executive recruiters into your network on LinkedIn per week. You do 10 per day. The important thing is that you have a lot of fishing poles in the water, so that if a job swims by one of these companies, they know about it and then they can make you aware of it, but you got to get on their radar screen. So my suggestion, add a lot of recruiters into your LinkedIn network. You can do that simply by typing in recruiter and then filtering out the areas or the companies they work for. And you could go with independent recruiters as well, but just get a lot of them into your network on LinkedIn, because then you come up as a first level connection. So when they go to look for somebody like you, they'll find you, right? And if you're not connected, you're going to be a needle in a haystack. So the more recruiters, the better. I have like 6,000 connections on LinkedIn. I bet you about 1,000 of are recruiters. And the reason I do that is because I help my clients connect with recruiters now. But if I was just looking for a job, I'd want to have a whole bunch of recruiters in my network. So, and a lot of them won't talk to you, by the way. If they're not working specifically on a project that you fit, then they are less likely to call you up or anything else like that. However, you are on the radar. So yes, you can work with recruiters, and again, think of them as passive sonars. They're out there, and if they find something, they might connect with you. Otherwise, you want to go out and do this networking yourself every week. So other questions, please put them in the chat box. These are great questions. We have 5 minutes left. Otherwise, I could fill in with some more information about networking. I'll wait for 1 second, see if you guys have anything else. Okay, so let me give you some more good information on networking and job searching. So basically, like I said, I work with clients to find their ideal positions, and we go through the whole phase, or we could just isolate different phases and work on those things. For example, if you want to work on interviewing, we can. If you want to work on networking more, we can. Your clarity, building your collateral. One of the things I really suggest is to build some really innovative collateral that other people aren't doing. So the networking brief is one of them. Another thing you can do is a mind map. It is a graphical representation of all of your skills and abilities. All you have to do is go out to mind mapping software, and you put yourself in the center, and then you have the sub bullets or bubbles of your core value propositions, and you have sub bullets off of those. And it graphically represents all the skills and abilities that you have. It is impressive, it is impactful, and I can tell you that most people don't do this, so you'll stand out. And it allows for meaningful conversations to happen faster. So if you're talking to a recruiter or even an interviewer, you can show them all of your graphical representation of your skills and abilities, and it's like they can go right to the point that stands out to them and start a good conversation on that. Okay, so I see another question coming in. So Karen, you said you're seeing CV be more visual. It says a minute ago, you're seeing CVs become more visual, and are they still a preference to text? Great question. So the question is basically, should I use a text-based resume, or should I do video? Video is where it is going. I just read, there's a whole bunch of AI stuff that's coming in the future, where you're going to be actually not even talking to a human being. You're going to be interacting with some computer, which is really strange. But if you can put together a quick video resume, that's awesome. That's another thing I coach my clients on. And basically, it can be just a 1 minute and 30-second review of your value proposition. And this way, a person gets a sense of your personality and who you are. And it's a lot more vivid and vivacious than a paper resume. So that is a great avenue to go down. And the other thing you can also do is to send out a connection to a potential hiring manager who you can identify, and just tell them what your value proposition is. And you say, hey, Mary, I would love to work for company XYZ. Here's what I can bring to the table. I'd love to have schedule 5 or 10 minutes with you. And again, if you address them by name and you talk about your value proposition and you send this in as an attachment, it's going to stand out. I can tell you, as a hiring manager, I interviewed hundreds and hundreds of people. I had two people in my whole career send me video resumes or video requests. I interviewed them both because I thought that was cool. I took time to figure out who I was, what I needed, what their value proposition was, and they stood out from the competition. So again, this whole thing that we're trying to do with job search and networking is to stand out and get yourself in front of potential people who could have your next position. So we got about 2 minutes left. If there's any other questions, feel free to put them in. Otherwise, I'll give you yet another piece of great collateral that you might be able to use. And it is called the Professional Dossier. Also a one-pager. People are busy, so they don't have a lot of time to read through a bunch of stuff. So what a Professional Dossier is like the networking brief, only you strip out all of the targeting. You don't talk about target companies, target industries, target people you want to speak to, because that makes you look like you want a bunch of different things. So the Professional Dossier, you can send along with your resume. It's a one-pager. It tells who you are, what you do, the problems you solve, and your core competencies. And you just have those 4 sections along with your contact information up front, and send it along with your resume, right? Your resume tells me what you did and who you did it with and where you did it. The Professional Dossier tells me more about who you are and the problems you really solve. And again, it will help you stand out. So if I'm looking at hundreds of resumes and this one comes through the Professional Dossier, then I'm going to give you more eyeball time. And that's exactly what we want when somebody's looking at 400 resumes, which I've done multiple times in my life. And I was like, no, 6 seconds. Literally, I give people 6 seconds, and don't think that your 3-page resume is going to get any more time than a one-pager is. or a 2-pager. So you got to get your points across. And if you give an extra piece of documentation, it makes the person stop, say, what's this? And then they read it through, and it's like, oh, this person's different. This gal's different. Puts it in the yes spot. All right. So I think we are at time. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you want more information, find me on c-synergy.com. And thank you so much, and good luck in your search, and enjoy the rest of the day. Bye-bye.